In a land built on toughness, you had to do some crazy things to stand out. In the blue corner, weighing in at 185 pounds and towering at 6'4", presenting the great emancipator, the rail splitter, ancient one, Honest Abe, it's none other than Abraham Lincoln. The 16th president is still the most physically imposing president in our history books. Today, on Oddballs, we're delving into the remarkably impressive and often overlooked wrestling career of President Abraham Lincoln. Before we dive into the ring, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to satisfy your thirst for oddball history. Abe Lincoln was a rail-splitting beast. If you were a rail splitter in those days, you weren't a pretty boy. The frontier was a tough place where hard work, a strong mind, and being able to wrestle were needed to survive. And luckily for Abe, he was pretty much the Hulk Hogan of his day. By the age of 18, Lincoln was working as a shopkeeper and the owner of the store. His boss learned of Lincoln's wrestling prowess and decided to turn it into a business opportunity. He began promoting Lincoln locally as this kind of wrestling champion. When we think of Honest Abe, we often conjure images of a soft-spoken, humble, top-hatted bookworm. A man who famously led the North during the Civil War, freed the slaves, and rests alone on our $5 bill. However, beneath that exterior, he was a hardcore, trash-talking, rough-and-tumble wrestler, and a darn good one at that. Abraham Lincoln was known for his catch-as-catch-can wrestling style, which was a rough-and-tumble style of wrestling popular in his time. In this style, almost anything goes, and the goal was to throw your opponent to the ground. In wrestling circles, he was also known as Big Abe due to his imposing stature. Legend has it that Abraham Lincoln boasted a record of 300 wins to 1 loss throughout his wrestling career, even clinching the Sangamon County Wrestling Championship and earning a spot in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. While his Hall of Fame status is a verified fact, some of his grappling tales might be a mix of truth and tall tales. Speaking of tall, Lincoln's imposing frame, standing at 6'4" and weighing 185 pounds, made him a lean and mean fighting machine. And don't be fooled, he knew how to bring the thunder and drop the people's elbow. Upon winning a particular match, he famously addressed the audience saying, "I'm the big buck of this lick. If any of you want to try it, come on and wet your horns." Another intriguing detail about Lincoln was his high-pitched voice, described by journalist Horace White as a thin tenor, or rather falsetto voice, almost as high-pitched as a boatswain's whistle. The New York Herald even noted its tendency to dwindle into a shrill and unpleasant sound. Lincoln was not exempt from criticism about his appearance, as many regarded him as ugly, including himself. During a political debate, his opponent called him two-faced, to which Lincoln cleverly responded, "If I had 2 faces, would I be showing you this one?" One of the most iconic stories of Lincoln's wrestling days occurred when he was challenged by the town bully Jack Armstrong in New Salem, Illinois. The stakes were high, and a crowd gathered for the showdown. While various accounts exist, one version claims that Armstrong tried to trip Lincoln, sending him into a rage, and Lincoln shook his opponent by the neck. Alternatively, Lincoln knocked him out cold. Another popular part of the story suggests that when the Clary's Grove boys saw their leader's impending defeat, they jumped in. Instead of fighting dirty, Lincoln offered to take them on one by one. Impressed by his valor, Armstrong admitted defeat, and the two became fast friends. In addition to his famous match against Jack Armstrong, Lincoln is said to have participated in numerous wrestling matches during his young adulthood, honing his skills and reputation as a formidable wrestler in the New Salem area. While Lincoln had an impressive record, he did suffer a few losses in wrestling matches throughout his career. These losses, like the one mentioned in the script during the Black Hawk War, were seen as part of his sportsmanship and contributed to his reputation as an honest and humble competitor. Lincoln often engaged in friendly wrestling matches with friends and acquaintances, and he was known for not taking advantage of his strength and skill when wrestling with those less experienced. Surprisingly, Lincoln's wrestling prowess played a role in his political career. In the 1858 Senate race, his opponent Stephen Douglas mentioned Lincoln's wrestling past. This connection with athleticism and courage benefited Lincoln in the 1860 presidential election. In the end, Abraham Lincoln's wrestling career was a surprising and fascinating aspect of his life. It showcased not only his physical prowess, but also added to his image as a courageous and spirited leader. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Abraham Lincoln's odd wrestling journey. Tell us in the comments which president you think would win in a wrestling showdown, and feel free to suggest other odd historical stories you'd like to hear about in the future. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more oddball history adventures.